What if the apple that struck Isaac Newton wasn't a random accident, but a signal? A download from an ancient network of intelligence that once ruled the cosmos long before humans knew how to count seconds. Maybe Newton didn't discover gravity at all. Maybe he just reconnected to a source that never really went offline. Every generation has its geniuses, but then there's Isaac Newton, the man who practically reverse-engineered the universe while sitting in his garden. 17th century England. Candles, carriages, quills, and powdered wigs. And suddenly, boom. One man writes down the mathematics of celestial motion as if he's been briefed by the Milky Way itself. Not bad for someone whose lab equipment looked more like a kitchen set. Textbooks love to call him a visionary. Cute. Because let's face it, there's a difference between ahead of your time and so far ahead you break the timeline. Newton invented calculus before anyone realized they needed it, predicted planetary movements before we had telescopes that could even confirm them, and described gravity as if he'd taken a field trip to outer space. So here's the uncomfortable question. How did a man from the 1600s, with zero data, no satellites, no high-speed anything, produce equations that still govern modern physics? What? Did he just guess correctly about the fundamental structure of the universe? Or was he tuning into something that wasn't from here? Because think about it, his laws describe the same fabric of space and force that Einstein later expanded centuries later. No internet, no lab assistants, just ink, paper, and a brain apparently Wi-Fi connected to the cosmos. If that's luck, then the universe really likes him. And yes, modern scientists love to polish the story. He was a genius, that's all. Sure, and my cat is just good with electronics when it accidentally opens a calculator app. At some point, the probability of coincidence becomes absurd. It's as if Newton's mind accessed a shared blueprint, the kind of deep, universal data that civilizations before us might have once known and lost. Because strangely enough, his discoveries fit right into patterns seen in much older megalithic sites. Precision, geometry, and mathematical harmony beyond what primitive cultures should have known. Did he rediscover an ancient language of science? Or did something, or someone, guide his thought process? Whatever the truth is, Newton didn't just measure gravity. He decoded it. He pulled invisible threads that stitched the cosmos together, and never explained how he knew where to pull. So maybe the apple wasn't the beginning of the story. Maybe it was the moment the universe decided to whisper again, through him. Let's get something straight. Isaac Newton wasn't just smart. He was impossibly smart. The kind of smart that makes you wonder if the guy was receiving software updates straight from the fabric of the universe. Because the math he wrote in candlelight now drives rockets, GPS, and orbital mechanics. He described the invisible pull between planets as if he'd watched it unfold from the vacuum of space. And here's the problem. Humanity in the 1600s didn't even know what a vacuum really was. So either Newton was a cosmic fortune teller, or he had access to a source of knowledge older than recorded history. Modern physicists call it genius. But genius doesn't explain accuracy decades, even centuries, before proof. His theories lined up perfectly with later discoveries about gravity waves, light refraction, and orbital resonance, things we only confirmed with 20th century tech. Coincidence? That word's been doing heavy lifting for centuries. What if Newton wasn't creating new knowledge, but translating old data? There are ancient carvings from Sumeria and pre-dynastic Egypt showing spheres in balance, rays connecting them, diagrams that suspiciously resemble gravitational models. To a farmer, they're myths. To a scientist, they're early astrophysics. Some researchers now whisper that maybe, just maybe, Newton tapped into remnants of an older global intelligence, a collective field of memory encoded in the planet itself. Call it an akashic record, call it quantum resonance, call it the universe's cloud storage. Whatever it was, Newton seemed to have the password. And then there's his obsession with light. He dissected it, split it, refracted it, cataloged it like a man trying to decode a message. Because to him, light wasn't just color, it was information. Energy behaving like thought, almost as if he believed consciousness and physics were two sides of the same prism. Sounds like 21st century quantum theory? Yeah, except he wrote it 300 years ago with a feather pen. So maybe he wasn't predicting the future. Maybe he was remembering it. A time when civilizations before us, or beyond us, understood how the universe actually functions. And like every forgotten genius, Newton simply caught the faint echo of that ancient broadcast. He didn't invent gravity. He translated it from a language older than humanity's scientific pride. And the more you read his work, the more it feels like something or someone was speaking through him, not just to him. Because knowledge like that doesn't appear out of nowhere. It reemerges when the world is finally ready to hear it again. By the time Isaac Newton died, he'd written over 10 million words. That's not the mark of a scientist. That's the behavior of someone trying to remember something. Buried inside his endless notes were patterns, codes, and sequences that modern AI still struggles to interpret. Historians dismissed them as obsessions. But what if they were coordinates? Some of his diagrams look like they belong on a NASA control panel, not a parchment from 1687. Orbital harmonics, curvature alignments, equations hinting at dark matter long before the term existed. And here's the kicker, the numbers match. Modern measurements of planetary mass ratios line up eerily well with Newton's symbolic constants. Coincidence? Or calibration? It's almost as if Newton had access to a map of reality, not the one drawn by explorers, but the one coded into the structure of existence. Think of it as a cosmic operating system, and Newton was the first human to reverse engineer it. His theory of universal gravitation wasn't a discovery. It was a reconstruction, the restoration of lost data from a civilization that once saw the universe not as chaos, but as music. Gravity wasn't a force to them, it was a rhythm, a cosmic tone binding galaxies together, a resonance of existence itself. And Newton? He was just tuning back into that forgotten frequency. Now imagine this. Hidden in his private papers, among the endless calculations, are sketches of circular symbols, concentric designs resembling gravitational wave interference. To his contemporaries, they looked like meaningless doodles. To a physicist today, they scream field theory. 3 centuries before Einstein, Newton hinted at a unified model of space and matter. He never published it. He didn't dare. Because even in his time, truth was dangerous currency. And the last thing the Royal Society wanted was a man suggesting that matter and consciousness were 2 functions of the same field. Fast forward to CERN, 2025. Scientists collide particles, hunting for the God equation, that one unifying theory that explains it all. They've got quantum loops, strings, multidimensional models. But none of it feels new. Every discovery they celebrate was already scribbled, faintly, in Newton's margins, like breadcrumbs left by someone who'd already been through the maze. So what if he didn't just predict the laws of physics? What if he recalled them? What if Newton's mind wasn't inventing? It was syncing with a universal data stream that spans civilizations. Some theorists today talk about the simulation hypothesis, the quantum consciousness field, or cosmic information theory. Big words for an old idea. Newton's idea. He described the universe as mechanical, yes, but he also left strange metaphors behind. Space is the sensorium of being. It's a cryptic phrase until you realize it means space itself is aware. He wasn't writing poetry. He was describing the interface of existence, the dashboard of the universe, something that ancient minds might have known, and modern science is just now rediscovering through math and silicon. So, was Isaac Newton just a genius with an apple? Or was he the last translator of a forgotten interstellar archive? Every formula he wrote, every orbit he mapped, wasn't discovery. It was déjà vu written in numbers. And maybe, when he stared into the void between falling light and rising thought, he caught a glimpse of something that the rest of humanity is still too young to see. The blueprint beneath everything. The song behind gravity. The code that built the stars.